Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you had a good weekend. Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you all about how important it is, especially if you are new in the realm of preparedness, that you put away as much food as possible. I'm not sure if you know this, but there is a war, not just against meat, not just against gas or gasoline or fossil fuels or oil, or all of those things that we need to stay alive, ladies and gentlemen. But there is a war against food itself. I'm sure you've seen it come out of the WEF and also come out of the same mouth of one of our secretaries. I think he's like the food or climate change secretary, Mr. Kerry. Even he has said that, yeah, we have to eliminate farms because farms constitute about 33% of the carbon emissions that go into the air. Well, I don't know if Mr. Kerry understands this because he's getting up there in age, but we need farms in order to produce food, and we need that food in order to live. Before we continue, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you that Opus is having the best sale I think they've ever had, and it's ending on the 16th of August, so just a couple of more days. I also wanted to address a problem that a couple of our community members had when trying to purchase an Opus solar generator. Their credit card company declined the sale because the financial company that processes the transaction is out of Ireland. And indeed, their financial services company is located in Ireland. I just don't want you to think that your credit card is being hacked or that there is foul play in the link that I've provided. Now let's get back to the video. Global Elite's secret plot against food. Now, ladies and gentlemen, don't let this title throw you off. When I first seen it, I was like, oh, come on, some more conspiratorial stuff. Everything that's covered in here in this article is really not conspiratorial. And I would challenge you to listen through it, and more so to actually go visit this site and read it for yourself and ask yourself, man, are these things actually happening now? And do a little bit of research and you'll see that yes, these things are happening now. Farming uses nitrogen, and suddenly nitrogen is the new antagonist in the tale of global warming. You remember when it used to be CO2, and it still is kind of, right? But I think that people are waking up now to the fact that CO2 only makes up about 0.04, not 0.4, not 4, but 0.04% of the atmosphere. So people are like, how in the world can we humans be affecting the climate on Earth when carbon or CO2 only makes up 0.04% of the atmosphere? So this is what I think. Someone up there said, wait a minute, nitrogen makes up 75% or 78% of the atmosphere. Let's use that instead. Even though we need nitrogen to live, ladies and gentlemen, we need nitrogen in order to produce the amount of food that we need on today's earth, for today's population, in order for people not to starve. The narrative is simple. Eliminate nitrogen and you're going to save the world. Yet, in the name of preservation, entire segments of our food production are under siege right now. What is that? Well, do they want us to eat meat? No, they rather have us eat insects. But ladies and gentlemen, I think that if they ever get the majority of the population to eat insects, that those people that are pushing this insect thing onto the population, they themselves will be eating meat. Consider rice, they say, a staple for half of the world's population. Renowned agencies claim rice accounts for roughly 10% of global methane emissions, emphasizing the urgent need to curtail its production. Incredible. But the ramifications would be starvation for millions of people. Rice constitutes about what half of the people on Earth eat in order to sustain. It's what they use in order to get the calories that they need to sustain. Look at the Netherlands for further evidence, they say. Dutch farmers, the backbone of a nation that is a leading exporter of meat and agricultural products, are being chased off their lands. A staggering 3,000 farms, and we've heard about this, are forecasted to be confiscated in the coming years. And the tragic fallout of this is evident, with a reported 20 to 30 farmers tragically ending their own lives every year. And the European Commission greenlit a strategy in order to compensate livestock farmers for halting their operations, so they're paying them not to grow food. in certain areas, with a stipulation that they never resume their animal breeding activities. The implications are clear: a drop in global food availability and the inevitable rise in prices. Ladies and gentlemen, we here in the Western world are pretty lucky that we have rarely seen food scarcity, but what we will see is the price of food skyrocket and stay expensive. You think that food is expensive now, ladies and gentlemen? You just wait. It's going to get a lot worse than what it is now, as far as people being able to afford to put food on their table. And do you all remember Sri Lanka's, ladies and gentlemen? Here they said their ill-fated venture into 100% organic farming. That sounds great. 100% organic farming sounds great, but the problem is that it just does not produce the yield that we need in order to feed the population. That is why organic foods are so expensive, because it takes a lot more effort in order to be able to grow those foods. The island nation faced a humanitarian nightmare with a staggering 90% of its population on the brink of starvation, all because the policies of one person. One person, ladies and gentlemen, came onto the scene, their newly appointed president, and said, we're going all organic. We're going all organic. He didn't look at the ramifications of what's going to happen if they did that from one day to the other. But he says, hey, this sounds like a great idea. Let's go all organic. The attack on farming by Western leaders is shockingly negligent. It is criminal, especially when such views ignore the glaring fact that while agriculture may account for 33% of all of the world's greenhouse emissions, it simultaneously sustains every single human being on this planet. Organizations like the WEF tout visions of a farm-free future. How in the world can we have a farm-free future unless they expect that we will be growing all of our meat in labs and growing all of our food in vertical greenhouses? Just me thinking out loud. They're dreaming of a world where food is crafted in sterile labs and humans are herded into congested urban centers. Toss digital currency into this dystopian mix and you have the ultimate formula for absolute dominance, and that is a fact. In our modern era, the recipe is simple. Concoct a crisis even if none exists. Hegelian dialectic, anyone? Incite racial tension among children. Reverse the progress women achieved over decades. Worsen shortages and tamper with the money supply. Tackle borders haphazardly. Condemn specific foods. Close farms and incite wars or create famine. Muscle voices of dissent by labeling truth as misinformation, and of course you can always cancel them. A tactic reminiscent of Cloward and Piven, we've talked about Cloward and Piven before. Create a crisis, then implement severe measures to address that very crisis. So it's the same as the Hegelian dialectic. You create a crisis, you see how the population reacts, and then you come back to the population and say, hey, we can fix this if we do this. And it's usually something that will support the agenda of the very same institution that created the crisis, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll end it up with this by one of my favorite authors, Mrs. Ayn Rand. It's glaringly evident that this isn't just about combating climate change. At its core, it's an insidious bid for control. In the profound words of Ayn Rand, we can ignore reality, but we cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. And that is the truth. Another great quote from Ayn Rand that I love, ladies and gentlemen, is this. Has nothing to do with this, but is this. When governments create laws not to protect the people from government, but to protect the government from the people, society is lost. And what do you see happening now and have seen happening for the last several decades? All we have to do is prepare, continue to prepare, stay prepared. In every way that you possibly can, ladies and gentlemen. We're all different. We're all in different parts of our lives, and we all have different abilities. So help your family, help your neighbors, stay prepared, fill in those gaps, and live your life. That's the best that we can do, right? Make sure that you take a little bit of time to smell the roses. Having said that, have a great day, ladies and gentlemen. God bless every one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.